First of all, let's start this by saying I fucking love this movie. This movie here might be one of my favorite movies of all time, if not the one and only. Okay? If I was stuck in an island and somehow I had electricity and some sort of TV or monitor or device to watch, and the only thing that I could access on that device was a singular movie, it would be this movie right here. Just watch it on repeat. Because even though that version of me might be in a very, very shitty place, caught in an island, a different version of me might be living his best life. So let's watch it. The Terror of Everything Everywhere All at Once. Let's see what this guy has to say about one of my favorite movies.
Imagine a world where anything you can think of can become
imagining right now.
A watermelon pie, we got it. A cactus ghost, got it. Hunter S. Thompson as a president, we got that too. For the last week, I've been obsessed with an AI image generator called Midjourney.
Yep.
You put in a prompt like,
does everyone have access? Wait, does everyone have access to Midjourney? Because I want to.
And it spits out some results. Sometimes they're terrible, sometimes they're bizarrely terrifying.
I like
but just
that.
as many times they're incredible. Here's a movie.
I almost got chills off of that.
Picasso, Infinite Cabbage, a bathroom designed by M.C. Escher, a person made entirely out of cheese, deluxe.
That looks like a
beans,
pizza
a strip
man.
mall painted by Monet, Dune directed by Wes Anderson, a bubblegum farm, family dinner painted by David Lynch, chicken nuggets at a Michelin star restaurant, cotton candy.
Hold on.
Family dinner painted by David Lynch, chicken nuggets.
What's up here? So, something very weird. This image is messing me up, dude. Who put the sauce on the plate before the nuggets? What kind of insane person did this? Only an AI would do this.
Twin Peaks drawn by a child. A potted tongue plant, pills by Gucci. I've spent hours now surfing through what is essentially humanity's collective imagination, remixed by my own random ideas and a powerful...
Okay, anyone that's watching this, comment. How much time do we have left until AIs take over? And if they already have, how is it? Probably good, hopefully.
AI. It's addicting and fascinating. Every image is a gamble. You don't know if it's going to spit out something amazing or just a pile of trash. What about a pile of trash by Van Gogh?
14 years?
But it's as terrifying as it is fascinating. As this technology improves, which it is already,
14 years.
DALL-E 2, Google's own image generation AI that isn't available for the public yet, is already much stronger than Midjourney.
Okay. I like that chair, bro. Where'd you get it?
Which I've been using. What will it mean for art, images, imagination? What is a world where anything we can imagine
cucumbers.
can become a reality? How
Alien
does
house.
encountering this world make you feel? What if we put everything on a bagel?
On a bagel!
Everything.
Oh, dude.
My hopes and dreams, my old report cards, every breed of dog, every last personal ad on Craigslist. Sesame.
Oh, this movie's so good.
Salt.
There's a new feeling I've started encountering in recent years. It's hard to describe. It's kind of uncomfortable, fractal, overwhelming, disorienting, but at the same time enticing and kind of awe-inspiring. For a while, I didn't know where this feeling was coming from, what was causing it,
I like my
or
boy's
how many
glasses.
other people might be feeling what I was feeling. But then in 2021, I started noticing a few artists depicting the feeling that I was having. Bo Burnham was the first to put his finger on it with his comedy special, Inside.
There it is again, that funny feeling.
Interesting.
Funny feeling.
But another recent work which captures the feeling in an even more fundamental way.
I guess I never thought about it.
Modern, maximalist, everything, everywhere, all at once.
Oh my God.
The smallest decisions can compound into significant differences over a lifetime. Every tiny decision creates another branching universe. Were you not paying attention before?
It's easy to get bogged down in the technical elements of multiverses and how they work, either as a storytelling device or as an actual theory for our own cosmos. But what I'm most interested in...
Okay, just to put it out there, this is the multiverse movie. There's so many, everyone's trying to do the multiverse, every single body's trying to do it. And this feels just right. I'm telling you. Watch it, please.
About the multiverse as it's used in Everything Everywhere All at Once is as a metaphor for our own world and our own personal experience, especially as a metaphor for the experience of
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I've always loved learning about new and novel things and have had an insatiable curiosity. And for someone who could spend all their time exploring what's out there if they didn't have to do other things like eat, pay rent, and socialize, the internet has been an endless garden of delight and possibility. The internet has an inexhaustible variety of cool stuff and tons of fascinating people and ideas to discover. The internet is why I get to do something like this as a job, but it's a double-edged sword.
I thought I was disconnected. Why was I still there?
Your mind is like a clay pot holding water. Every jump opens another crack, causing things to leak through.
Even when pointed at seemingly productive learning and not just mindless entertainment, when given the option to fulfill endless curiosity, there comes a tipping point, a crossing of the bell curve.
Sucked into a bagel.
Here's the thing. We don't need an actual multiverse to put cracks in the clay pot of our mind when we already have devices for careening through the endless imaginations of the multitudes. When we exist in an environment where you can encounter the personal stories and experiences from people on every continent, all who are living their own unique life in just a few minutes, all from the comfort of your own toilet. When more interesting ideas, concepts, people, and places can fly by in the space of one 30-minute TikTok binge than some of our ancestors experienced in the entirety of their localized illiterate lives. The internet, for those who are inspired to spend a lot...
fucking scary, dude. That's why it's all so goddamn scary, man. There's too many things. It's all happening. Make it stop.
A lot of time on it and use it in a certain way. For those who envelop themselves in its self-referential world of constantly evolving novelty and imagery will inevitably have a profound effect on the way you see the world.
Halo?
What is the result of this headlong dive through novel ideas and imagery? Many astronauts, upon seeing the Earth for the first time from space, spinning by below them, report something that has been dubbed the overview effect. When they see the world they've always known from such a radically different viewpoint, flying by in its entirety in the space of 90 minutes, hundreds or thousands of times, it can cause a significant paradigm shift in how they view life and the world. I don't think
it must be insane, dude. One thing that I was watching this documentary the other day, and it was a documentary. It was a Trip to Infinity was a documentary. It's pretty good. Highly recommend. Talk about just like infinity and the idea of infinity, and one of the things that they say on there is that the circle is the perfect shape, has like infinite amounts of points. Like they ask, the simple question of how many sides does a circle have, and realistically it probably has like infinite amount of sides, because if you think of a triangle, right, and you try to use it as a wheel, obviously it doesn't work, but you can get to a hexagon and it works better as a kind of wheel, but then you can get like an infinite amount of sides, and then that kind of turns into a circle. And they talk about potentially like a circle could potentially have infinite amounts of sides and corners. And also they talk about infinite amount of points that a circle can have. But then they talk about it in a sphere aspect, how a sphere, could also have an infinite amount of roundness. I don't know if I'm fully explaining this right, but it's just a very interesting question whenever I ask them, do you feel like you're holding infinity in your hands? Because in a way it's kind of like they want to say it's infinity because, like, you know, it has an infinite amount of size, but it doesn't feel like infinity to us, but maybe to a very tiny microorganism it might, you know. But I'm saying all this because one of the things that they point out and that stood out to me is this idea that you will never be able to look down on the universe, or you will never be able to look down at the universe. I guess it made me think about it because they're looking down on Earth, right? But if you're able to look down on the universe, then that means that you're still in the universe. You know what I mean? If you're existing and you're able to look down on something, then you're in the universe, and then you're not looking down on it. And that idea is so cool to me. I don't know why. I just smiled and just laughed at that idea. You will never be able to look down on the universe, you know? I don't know. It's just a really cool thing. I don't know why. I just thought it was cool. Thought I would share. That's it.
Effect of being very online is the same thing as the overview effect that astronauts experience. But I think there's a lighter weight analogous effect that can happen from consuming the amount of information that many of us now do using the internet. Seeing so much of the world so quickly can trigger a sort of psychological paradigm shift. The shift isn't coming from being exposed to
it's so beautifully
new
shot
idea or
too.
Perspective that forces you to reassess your own. The shift comes from the sheer amount of perspectives and ideas that we can now be exposed to online. The shift from being online all the time contains some positives, but it can also leave you stuck in a state of overwhelm, constantly considering alternative life paths, constantly comparing your own experience to the experience of others, unable
it's just
to
too
hold
much
a consistent
happening.
view of what's real or what is important. For most people, I think the digital overview effect is a gradual and pervasive accumulation, slowly building up as we swim through a world of thoughts, ideas, concepts, and emotions, all projected at us through images, text, and video, one after another in an endless parade. Each new idea can pull you in a different direction, and there's a certain point.
This is such a spoiler if you haven't watched the movie. Don't watch this until you watch the movie, please.
Starts to blur by and look and feel like nothing. And at that point, the entire thing collapses on itself.
What is the truth?
Nothing matters.
For me, Everything Everywhere All at Once is one of the first true...
And that's something that I've been struggling with for the last couple of years, probably couple months, for sure. It's just the idea that I keep going back and looping to this idea of nothing matters. Nothing matters. We're so minimal. We're like nothing in the nothingness of it all. You know what I mean? And it's kind of crazy. The chances that we are living, we're almost at, I don't know, maybe this is like, maybe we're thinking too much, or I'm thinking too highly of us humans, but we kind of got lucky and we're living at like almost the peak of it all. You know? Because before there was nothing, and after there will be nothing. So we're almost at the peak of it all, dude. In the timeline of everything the whole existence of everything. That's pretty fucking nuts. It's pretty nuts, dude. That we're somewhere in there. You know what I mean? On like, holy shit, we got to live in the point of the universe that life was possible, you know? Two ways to look at it. Nothing matters, so why bother? Or nothing matters, so do whatever you have to, so it matters to you. Going back to the documentary I watched, that, dude, it pulled like a fucking string on my soul. Was this guy literally talking about nothing matters. He goes into it's so beautiful, man. But he's like absolutely saying like nothing matters, and just going into this whole like rant of what he was thinking of on like this night. And he was like a scientist. He's a scientist, but he was like just like super pessimistic about everything, nihilistic about everything. And he just going on to this whole rant of why nothing matters and why everything is pointless. And he finishes it with, and then I fell in love. And that shit hit me, dude. Because, yeah, nothing fucking matters. But shit, things matter to you. You know what I mean? And that's enough. And that is enough. That is enough. And I'll take it. You know what I mean? I'll take it. Nothing matters, but they matter to me. And that's all. And that's it, baby. That's all I can grasp on this somewhere timeline that we're on where we got to live. That's pretty cool, dude. That's pretty cool that I can care about a plant. You know what I mean? In the grand scheme of this whole existence. That's pretty cool.
Post-internet films, it's not just about the internet. It doesn't just comment on the internet, but fully embraces it in all of its absurdist, chaotic glory. The maximalist excess and complete tonal whiplash from one moment to the next captures the unhinged, unfiltered anarchy of using the internet in a way that nothing else I've ever consumed has.
She appears to be in a universe where everyone has hot dogs instead of fingers.
This is a movie for people
awesome.
who have found themselves blinking sleep out of their eyes with 50 tabs open at 2 a.m., which I suspect is many more of us than we'd open.
Who has 50 tabs open at 2
In an
a.m.?
interview with Slash
Close that
Daniel
computer,
Scheinert,
my dude.
one of the movie's directors, said, "We've talked a lot about what it's like to have grown up on the internet and how that exacerbated the typical generational divide and what it feels like for everyone, no matter how old you are, to live right now with the internet." So that's one of the key metaphors, was just like, we wanted the maximalism of the movie to connect with what it's like to scroll through an infinite amount of stuff, which is something we're all doing too much. Most media that tries to comment on the internet comments on the content of the internet, or one small aspect of it that it wants to critique. But it doesn't comment on the message that comes from the medium of the internet, the feeling of the experience of the internet.
Fucking good.
The way the most absurd or inane things you've ever seen coexist in the immediate context of tragedy and posts from your friends and family. Everything Everywhere All at Once does comment on this experience. It's silly and stupid and chaotic because, well,
Welcome to the internet. Have a look around. Anything that brain of yours can think of.
I didn't finish the Bo
Jobu
Burnham
Tupaki is a child of the internet,
special,
raised
but I probably
in
should.
and by the chaos of the multiverse, cast unknowingly by her parents without training wheels into the void. She doesn't have the skills to cope with that experience, and neither do many of the real teenagers who are growing up on the internet now. Evelyn, her mother, first tries to resist this experience and then tries to understand, but eventually realizes that she too
Dude,
is not equipped to
to
handle
this day,
the
that sweater
onslaught
is
of
dope as fuck. I
experiencing
want
the
it.
internet head on.
That's such a
How do we
good
handle
sweater.
this situation? How do we stare head on to the darkness of the bagel and survive?
I don't know. You got the books.
Maybe you
tell
haven't
me.
experienced what I'm talking about. Maybe you don't know what I mean. Maybe you've ventured into this brave new world and have come out relatively
A whole
unscathed.
new
But even if you haven't
world.
been negatively affected by it, I would argue that you probably are impacted by it in some way. Our world is being shaped right now by people who have gone in and haven't come out unscathed. And while my parents' generation and my generation still got to grow up with the internet as a thing that we go to and then can go away from, the current generation is living with it as an omnipresent extension of themselves. They're growing up in a technological world
So, fuck the
increasingly
metaverse,
dominated by
baby?
the internet. Their education,
Fuck
their
the
social lives,
metaverse.
and their careers are intertwined with this experience. And it increasingly takes a particularly bold and defiant individual to even take a step back from this world. And it's not slowing down. While the adults in power are just now noticing the issues that reared their heads almost a decade ago, the next decade holds a whole new set of wonders and terrors that
do love
we're
these
waiting to
AI.
embrace with open arms. It might sound from all of this like I feel like it's a hopeless situation, but I don't feel hopeless, and I don't think Everything Everywhere All at Once does either. The film ultimately affirms a quiet
Hey.
acceptance of a life that openly
Yeah,
acknowledges the infinite
dude.
chaos and possibility swirling
have
around
this.
us, vying for our attention, but chooses to quietly ignore it in order to value what's immediately in front of you.
No matter what.
I put an
still
eyeball
want to be
on
here
this
with you.
on
And I
this
think
real
one of the
Akuma
points
cat
that the movie
to
tries
remind me
make
of this
is that
movie
in
and the
order to
message this
engage
movie
with
has.
the multiverse
This-
of
this-
the
I've
internet
got from
in a
this
healthier
movie.
way, you have to understand what
The
doesn't
all-
matter to you.
The woke
Because
ass real
attention
Akuma
is the
cat.
economy of the internet, and we pay attention to things we see as important. So the entire engine of the internet is built to convince you that everything matters all at once, all the time. But in the real world, in the world you're living in, you can only pay attention to a few things in one place at a time.
Just gonna ignore everything else.
And in order to pay attention to the few things that do matter, you have to look at a world of infinite possibility out there and boldly proclaim that it doesn't matter. And that's not to say that nothing on the internet or that you find on the internet matters. But the point is, it can't
You know, it'd
all
be funny
matter
if he just
equally
segued into
to
like
you.
a VPN.
If you try to act like it all matters equally to you, you'll end up feeling like
And you know
none
what
of it
else
matters.
doesn't matter when
There's a
you're
quote from
surfing the
Marshall
internet.
McLuhan that gives me hope when I'm thinking about these kinds of issues. And so I'll
A
leave you with that.
NordVPN
There is
sponsorship.
no inevitability so long as there is a willingness to contemplate what is happening.